Alright, moving on to the orchid updates. And I knew I would forget something before we started orchids, and I did, and here is a guayusa. It's one of the holly species, but it has caffeine in its leaves. I bought it because I wanted to use it as a coffee substitute for my partner, but it doesn't really work. So I'm just growing it as ornamental right now. It dropped tons of leaves in the winter when there was not enough light, but because of the spring coming, and it seems to be doing much better. Look at all those new growth and how strong they are. And one thing I really worry about is this long branch falling over. So far it's been doing pretty well. And that long branch has fell over so long ago, and I'm not even too concerned about it. Okay. Alright. Now moving on to the orchids. So, one thing I want to start with is that I'm not the best with orchids, and I actually restarted growing orchids because in the winter it's really gloomy and I get kind of affected by the seasonal changes in light and the weather. And I can't really grow a lot of the species I love, eucalyptus. A lot of the species I love to maturity and flower, so I thought orchid would be a good alternative because they are much smaller, well, compared to all the trees, of course, and they're much easier to care for in terms of light because the trees I love requires a lot of light. And orchids, there are highlight orchids, but even the highlight orchids don't need as much light. And one growth like these can totally suffice for a lot of the Cattleyas, which is considered one of the higher light orchids. It's maybe not as high as in general some of the vandas, but I don't really like vandas because I can't take care of the roots in my apartment because it just takes too much time to water the vandas. I also don't really like monopodio orchids. So long story short, the Cattleyas where the orchids have been growing is sort of like a nice getaway for me from the winter time here in the Northeast, and I really appreciate them being here for me. But that said, I might have overdone it because I'm officially out of room. I mounted all my orchids because that's the way they grow in nature, well, most of them, and it's taking a lot of time to water them every single day because they're in mounds that dry out really quickly. Good thing is that you generally don't have to worry about root rots. Bad thing is that you have to keep up with the watering. So unlike plants in a pot or orchids in a pot, you don't have to water for a week or even two. I have to water them every day, and I can't just hose them down as if they were in my yard. I have to bring them to the sink and bring them back and wipe off the floor, wipe off the water on my floor. It's just a big ordeal every single day. However, I enjoy them, I like seeing them grow, and I actually really worry about if I film the video and show you how great they are and then they will just suddenly all die on me and I will be kind of embarrassed, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Let's get started. Okay, so first of all, the setup again, I got those growth lights, those LED growth lights. Each of them is 100 watts, and I've been researching a little bit. I think this one seems to be doing pretty okay in terms of light intensity and spectrum wise. And I have basically 2.5 main areas for my orchids. This is one of them. This one has the highest light orchids because it also gets sun when it's sunning outside. And that one is sort of the smaller orchids because I can fit it underneath the shelf. Actually, I wanted to put this light on the wall, but the wall couldn't support it. So I put it on the shelf, and I put some smaller orchids there. And the last one is this one. I taped the foil on the wall to reflect more light. But I don't know if it's really doing anything. So those are the 3 main areas. And also I have some in pots, but I'll get to those in a little bit. You know what? Maybe I'll start with the one in pots. Okay, so everything down here is either a Dendrobium kingianum, or a Dendrobium delicatum, which is a natural hybrid between kingianum and one of the speciosum varieties. I think it's Hilii. In any case, you can look it up. I also try to put names on the videos, try my best. And I don't know the specific varieties. I know some kingianum have, some varieties produce more cakey, some varieties produce less cakey, but I got that one in that pot with gravel from Florida, because I know all of the Aussie dens, most of them need a cool winter temperature to trigger flowering, and by cool I mean like down in the 40s or even lower than that. I definitely do not have that temperature in my apartment. So I was in Florida for the holidays, and there was this there was this nursery called Odom's Orchids, and they're, you know, on the east coast of Florida, between, I don't know, like, I was on my way back to Orlando from Miami, basically. So they haven't had any cold nights, but that one was initiating flower spikes. I thought that was a sign of this one might be easier to bloom, so I got it. But after I got home, all the flower spikes aborted, and that's probably because of a change of the environment. Not saying the plant is bad or anything, but now I'm just happy I could grow it, because, you know, for Aussie dens, you want to get as big as you want, because the bigger the plant is, the more growth points it could have. And this one, I don't know if you can see, let me take it up. There's two, at least hopefully you can see one. Let me put this down gently. There is one growth back there. I hope that's what you see, and another one right there. Again, my phone's super old. My screen isn't big enough, it isn't bright enough for me to see what you see anymore. But hopefully you can see there are two new growth already, and maybe more will come, because this is just getting started. So I love that, and all the other ones are cakeys, and I'm growing them because eventually I want to bring them down to my in-laws in Central Florida and mount them either on the tree or put in the cracks along on the driveway. I don't know yet. Because I know they're more lithiophytes than epiphytes in a way, but one of them is also pushing out a new growth right there. Let me take it up. I put in moss, and of course, you know, they're not supposed to be put in moss, but I'm not keeping them long term anyway. So hopefully you can see the new growth right there. Okay. And they're here because they want full sun, or a lot of light, and this is my, you know, southeast facing window, so it has the most amount of light in my apartment. Okay, so moving on to the other dendrobiums. This is a Dendrobium nobile, not the nobile types, just the species, I believe. It's from a keiki, and the new growth is doing great. It has super vigorous root systems, and hopefully I will also be able to mount this on their tree this coming holiday season. We'll see. And moving on to the other ones in pots. This one is an Angraecum didieri. I initially mounted it, but it's not doing anything, and I don't love it that much, and the real estate on my mount is really precious, so I just kind of took it off. I know I'm not supposed to do it, but we'll see. I wanted to see the flower. If I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't like it, I probably will still keep it. But we'll see. But other than that, Angraecum didieri, these are the Dendrobium. I think hybrid is the pumpkin patch. They are the hard cane types of Dendrobium, not the nobile, not the Aussie ones. And these ones are really, really, really intolerant of cold. But the flowers last forever, like months, but they don't have any scent. So strong pros and cons. I'm just growing them to see what they could, to test it out, because I've never grown them from keikis, and it's sort of my practice. We'll see. And back there, those are 3 pseudobulbs of Clowesia Rebecca Northen, and one of them is actually pushing out new growth over there. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can bring it closer. Hopefully you can see it. There is something right there. I don't want to pick it up because I don't want to move it in case it's growing roots. But this is a really small Cattleya type and has super fragrant, long-lasting draping inflorescences around this time of the year. So I love it and I want to grow it. And another thing with those Cattleya types is that they are also prone to spider mites. But because of their size, I'm hoping I could keep it under control a little bit so that, I can rinse a leaf every day or something like that to keep the spider mites away. But yeah, this is Clowesia Rebecca Northen. It's a really famous hybrid, and also it's not Rebecca Northern as I initially thought it would. It's not like southern northern, it's Northen without the second R, I think. Anyways, moving on to my mounted orchids. Those highlight ones include that. I think it has Cattleya walkeriana in it, but it's not that typical of a walkeriana. I've had it in my videos before. It's kind of beaten up by the sun, but it's pushing out quite a lot of new growth. So hopefully, the flower has aborted twice last year already. Like once when it was flowering over Thanksgiving, and I was gone. And once was earlier in February. I was traveling for work. And every single time I got back home, the flower aborted. I don't know what could be happening. I'm definitely giving a lot of light. But maybe because the flower got sunburnt? Who knows? So hopefully it's still okay within the Cattleya walkeriana flowering season for it to bloom once again. But I'm not keeping my hopes up too high. We'll see. And on this stick, there are 2 walkerianas and 3 nobiliors, and this one I got the walkerianas from Palmer. Let me try to take it off and see if I can show you. So this one on the left was in the pot. It's pushing on a new growth and new roots, and this one on the right, this one with a bigger leaf, actually just finished flowering. This is a dead spike. And I also have 3 nobiliors I got from RF Orchids. They're not doing the best. This one is doing the best. It's pushing out a new shoot. I ran out of my hands. One is holding the plant, one is holding the camera. But hopefully you can see the shoot. It's like down there. And that shoot is growing a root as well, so that's exciting. But this one and the other nobilior is not doing much. But they're not dead, and I know they're pretty tough plants, so hopefully they'll be fine. And over there, those are some just typical Brassavola nodosa and typical Brassavola subulifolia. When I got when I went to an orchid show later in January maybe, I got it from one of the vendors from Taiwan. Honestly, he has okay stuff, but every Brassavola I got from him is not doing so well. Like, for example, this nodosa is pushing out 2 new shoots, but the root just keeps dying. And I'm pretty confident I'm good at growing Brassavola, at least nodosas, and I don't know what's happening to it. Who knows? Sometimes the plants just do their thing, and you can just sort of adjust to it and respect them instead of asking them to adjust to what your likings. So I'm just gonna respect what it's doing and see if it's gonna, keep going. Okay, sorry for the lights. This is more Cattleya walkeriana / nobilior hybrids. Species. Also, I like growing. Let me take it off. Also, I like growing species. I like seeing all the growth patterns on the species. I know hybrids usually pretty continuous, and there's no rest, or they push out roots all the time. more or less. I like species just because I guess they're cooler because they're closer to what nature had. Anyways, this is multiple walkerianas and one nobilior. You can easily tell which one is nobilior because nobilior is a bifoliate. Walkerianas are, unifoliate. And this nobilior is pushing out a healthy new growth that's pushing out really thick, nice fat roots. And the walkeriana is also pushing out a fat new growth, and all of the previous old roots are still branching. And one thing I realized about walkeriana and nobiliors is that their root branch a lot, and especially some of the old roots that was already growing in the air. After you mount them, don't cut them off. They are gonna do well. I love those two plants, and hopefully they're gonna, flower later this year. Let me put that one back. And also I put multiple plants on the same mound just because, because of real estate, I just really don't have that much room. And hopefully they'll be fine. And moving on, oh no, this light is blinding. This one has all the Rhyncholaelias. That one is a Rhyncholaelia digbyana. It's really small. And this one is a Rhyncholaelia glauca. And there are a couple more Rhyncholaelia digbyana divisions up front. And also this one has more Rhyncholaelia digbyana on it. That's a little bigger with more roots. And some Cattleya iricolor I got from Eucogenera last month, because they're supposed to be really fragrant, and I can't find it anywhere. And Eucogenera has it, and one of them is growing new roots. You definitely cannot see that with this light. Hopefully they will be fine, and I get to smell it. And this one is a Cattleya velutina. This is a Brazilian bifoliate, a sort of an obscure species, but really fragrant flowers. And this is probably still a couple years from flowering, maybe 1 year at least. So we'll see. I'm just happy I could grow it. I could find it. I got it from Mortal Orchids. By the way, Waldor Orchids in South Jersey is a great vendor. Super knowledgeable, great stuff. Okay. This is my Brassavola cucullata mount, and I also got some new Brassavola cucullatas, and this is the previous cucullata. I just chopped it up and put it on the mount. I don't think it's doing that well, and Brassavola cucullata is definitely not as vigorous as some of the other Brassavolas. Like this one is kind of not doing so well, but it's also producing more keikis. And actually, one of the keiki produced is doing pretty well. Like you see all those new roots. So I don't know what's happening. We'll see. I took it out of the basket because the basket was overgrown by fern. I should have taken care of the fern earlier, but I thought it was a cool thing to have together. But it turns out it was just being suffocated by the fern, and I don't see it doing so well. I don't know what's happening in the media. Maybe I should just left it alone, but I didn't, and I kind of regret it because it was a really good plant. It was flowering for me like since last May until maybe November. It was just like always some flower on it. But now, I don't know, hopefully I didn't kill it. We'll see, we'll keep you posted. And this is the Brassavola perrinii. This one is pushing out strong new growth. I chopped a lot of the roots off because it was also in a hanging basket, and the roots were all over outside, inside this meshed basket. And with mesh baskets, you can't ever take everything off cleanly without either destroying some of the roots or destroying the basket, or in this case, both of them. And also there's a small Brassavola cucullata on it as well. I really like cucullata, so I'm hoping some of them will survive. Okay, this is probably my oldest orchid mount. There's a Rhyncholaelia digbyana on it, but mostly Brassavola nodosa, Brassavola subulifolia, and some little stars. And the nodosa is actually blooming right now. Look at that. It's just started opening 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and I started smelling it the first time last night. it was great of this bloom. But you also see the sepals. Are those? Yeah, the sepals are kind of fused together at the bottom. You know, I'm not growing it for show. I don't care. I just love the scent, and I love this species. That Brassavola nodosa actually grew from a tiny seedling a few years ago from Andy's orchids, so I'm really glad it's doing well now. Okay, so moving on to my Phalaenopsis violacea. This is a really good grower. I don't like a lot of the grocery Phalaenopsis just because they kind of become wobbly and the flowers don't really have a scent. But this Phalaenopsis violacea is one of the summer blooming ones that are super fragrant, and it's also pretty famous. And another famous one is Phalaenopsis bellina, and I got this one from Orchid Classics at an orchid show earlier in February, and they're based in, I think, Virginia. I might be wrong. I think Virginia, but I don't really have a lot of luck growing those summer blooming Phalaenopsis because, you know, they are native to really warm and really humid forests, and I have the warmth, but I don't have the humidity. It's grown on a mount. It's always better to pot them if you can, in my experience, unless you have, you know, you can provide a high humidity. But in my case, I love mounting them, so I just put some moss around the roots. And so far it's doing well. This is a new leaf. The leaf I got from the orchid show, which was, I think, President's Day. So it might be a couple weeks since then. Like, when I got the leaf, it was maybe this long, and it has grown so much. I was genuinely pleased. You know, I never had this much luck growing those summer blooming, humidity loving Phalaenopsis, and look at the flower spike. I am so excited. Can you see the flower spike? It's right there, not there, here. Hopefully you can see, yeah. Okay, and moving on, and these are Cattleya dowiana, and because I started researching Cattleyas, and dowiana is supposed to be a really fragrant one and has gorgeous yellow flowers with gorgeous lips, so I thought about getting one and ended up getting two. And dowiana is one of the more finicky ones, I think people say, and maybe more prone to root rot, but I'm growing it mounted. It's not a huge problem for me just yet, hopefully it won't ever be. And I don't know if you can see the new roots pushing out and the one in the back as well, so I'm cautiously optimistic. There's also a bud, but I really can't see if you can see. I will show you all the orchids when they're in bloom, but that one is definitely a few years away. Okay, in the back I have aclandiae, another supposed to be pretty finicky bifoliate, and I love how thick and healthy the root looks, and I think they just really like being mounted. And of course I water them like twice a day, and so they're not drying out, and because of this I can't go anywhere. I'm just basically a slave to my orchids now. And that's an aclandiae, probably sometime before flowering. And this is the schilleriana, and that's a forbesii. And forbesii is actually, people say, one of the easier bifoliates. In my experience, it is pretty easy. And I got it, you know, in moss. I just took it out, put it on a mound, and it's growing a lot of new roots. It is also growing two new shoots. There's one right there, and there's one at the base of this pseudobulb. And at the bottom, that's Cattleya curii. It's a miniature species. I'm so excited to see what it looks like. And on the back, there are more Cattleya schillerianas, and those two are the Cerulean types. And I believe this one just the Tipo ones. And I put all of them on the same mound. That's probably not the best thing to do, but this is the best I can do regarding space. So hopefully they will be fine. All right, this video is also getting very long, and the light is blinding me. Let me turn this one off. Okay, much better. So, on this bigger mount, I have Cattleya perrinii or Lelia perrinii, Cattleya gemanii, Fuchs Snow, And this is a really old cultivar, and people told Deva from model orchids told me that this one is usually virused. So I haven't tested it, and hopefully it's fine. But it has super vigorous roots, and it's also pushing out a new growth right there. So that's great. Actually, let me do something to the timer because I don't want to mess it up, but I also don't want to blind you guys. I just unplugged the light itself. Okay, great. Those are two Cattleya germanii from HR Orchids, and this is a Cattleya Eldorado. I think it is also named Violacea. I don't know. It also is growing more roots. And on the back, that is a Cattleya Ludmaniana, and it's actually one of the more vigorous ones on this mount. It has great roots, and the roots are just getting everywhere. And I also have two more Cattleya Ludmaniana in the back. They're smaller, but they are a different color. Oh, by the way, that Ludmaniana is supposed to be cerulean, and these two are supposed to just be rubra, or one of the more typical purple ones. I apologize for not taking them out and showing you, just because they always make a huge mess. I don't want to break anything. Everything is kind of crucial in terms of growing roots at the moment, but I will show you once they flower. I'll tell you more about the plants, where they're from, their culture, etc. And moving down, I know I said I don't like hybrids, but I have two mounts specifically for hybrids, one for my partner, one for myself. This is a RLC, I forgot. It's from the Akatsuki. Sorry, I'm also watching Naruto, and you know, there is an organization called Akatsuki in Naruto, so I can't think of the other word that's supposed to be where this orchid is from, but it's a place in Hawaii. It's really good, and that the flower is just really gorgeous. And on the back, that's supposed to be a jungle nobility and another jungle nobility. I got two just because in case one dies, I know it's a bifolia. They tend to be a little more finicky, although this is a hybrid. This nobility, jungle nobility, is pushing out nice fat roots, but the abundance of the zip tie is probably not helping. However, I'm really waiting for this spike to either flower or tell me it's not going to flower. The sheath is there. I can't see what's happening inside. I really want to see what's happening inside because I was told this vendor on Etsy sometimes ships out the wrong stuff. If it's not jungle nobility, I don't want to grow it. You know, it's still a good plant, I bet, but you know, like I would just put it somewhere else or give it to somebody who likes it. So we'll see. Hopefully it's gonna flower soon. All right, moving on. This single-leafed pseudobulb, now with two roots, is RLC Momi something rainbow gypsy. Gypsy is, you know, the name of a cultivar of this specific clone, but this is one of the rainbow things. It has smaller flowers compared to some of the more standard unifoliates, but it's really fragrant, and it's just a lovely splash or shade of yellow and different colors on it. I love it. It cheers me up, so I'm trying to grow it from this one cutting. One leaf, one pseudobulb division. It has grown roots. I don't know if any of this bud or the one back there is gonna activate, but hopefully it will. We'll see. And this one is my RLC Ports of Paradise. I love Ports of Paradise. I had one. I had the Emerald Isle when I was in when I was in California, but I gave it to a friend, and I think that one passed away. I've been trying to get another emerald green, Emerald Isle, but they're really hard to find. I don't know, like sometimes they're just everywhere, but sometimes some years they're just like no one has it. This one is the green Qinghua. It should also be good, and I see a really nice new growth coming out right there. It's quite thick, so hopefully that one if not blooming, can be just 1 or 2 away from blooming. And on the back there, that is a Cattleya loha case. That's a hybrid between Cattleya walkeriana and Cattleya mini purple. I think mini purple is walkeriana onto pumila. So I guess because both pumila and walkeriana are pretty small species, and this one is pretty small, and hopefully, you know, it'll be easier to bloom than the walkeriana, you know, winter rest thing, and still maintain a lot of walkeriana. All right, moving on. This is a large GCI. This one has pushed out a nice root with nice root tips, and that one is the Cattleya perrinii, and there is another large GCI in the back. They're all growing quite well, and the one in the back is growing new shoots as we speak. And I know people say, you know, you're not supposed to disturb the roots of especially bifoliates, but I got like 20 of them back in January from Waldor, and I'm supposed to observe them and see which one's pushing out new roots and mount that one, but I got way too impatient, and I just mounted everything. I know the large GCI are the ones that are easier in terms of bifoliate care, and so far seems to be doing okay, but hopefully I didn't kill them. I tried to maintain a lot of the roots they had for these ones, and the roots are still alive. You know, they're taking up water just fine, they're taking up the fertilizer just fine, and so hopefully they're gonna be fine. And down there, those ones are really close to blooming. This is a Cattleya intermedia, and you see this really nice flower sheath that it's probably gonna open in a couple of days. It's just almost there. And this is the Cattleya ludmaniana, and this one is almost partially open. You know, sometimes they do these things, they don't open the way it's supposed to, but you know, I'm not growing for show, so if the flower comes out wonky, that's fine, but I'm just really excited. And this is a Cattleya harrisoniana. Again, nice new shoot, nice new roots. I love it. Moving on, this is the Cattleya purpurata, and this is a smaller Cattleya purpurata, and this is in Encyclia, now Prostanthera radiata. We'll see when they bloom, and I'm really excited about this Encyclia radiata. I know this is not in any way a rare or hard to grow species, but it just arrived yesterday, and I just put it on the mount. So far the roots are fine, and I love this one because it's supposed to have a really strong scented flower that lasts a long time. And I also love this piece of mount because I don't know if you can see all those cracks inside the mount, and I think Encyclia or Prothecia radiata is one of the ones that loves a lot of water when it's in active growth. So hopefully all of the holes on the mound can provide some water to it when it's actively growing. Alright, almost done. Sorry, this video is becoming very long. This is a Cattleya tigrina. I think that one is gonna flower because I saw some flower in it already. It's a bifoliate. However, this was only growing 1 leaf. I was worried, you know, like sometimes when they're happy to grow 2 leaves, when they're unhappy to grow 1 leaf, and the pseudobulb isn't super thick. So I was worried I won't see the flower, but it might flower. We'll see. Hopefully I don't jinx it. This one's supposed to be intensely fragrant. That's something also, one of the reasons why I got it. I have 2 more tigrinas, one here, one back there. There are different clones. I think the one back there is Sandbar Giant, that's an FCC. The one up here is a cross between Paw, which is an AM, I think, and with some SVO breeding. So we'll see. In general, I'm not too fussy about the color or the flower show quality. I'm mostly growing it for the fragrance. But, you know, like when Cool Smith had their Sandbar Giant available again, I was like, I'm gonna get it just because this one looks great. And you know, Cool Smith, they're also pretty good orchid vendors, Cattleya vendors, at least in my experience in the US. All right, moving on to the last mount. This is the Cattleya trini. It's a seedling, probably a couple of years away from blooming. And this is a Cattleya tenuis, an interesting bifoliate that was recommended to me by Dave Off from Wardor. Again, Wardor is great. This is a tigrina, also known as leopoldii, but I think this one is polaric, meaning they're all the three petals, the petals are also kind of like a lip towards the end. So this one is really small, but you know, you see the nice new root, you see the tiny new shoots, so hopefully that will do well. And this is a Cattleya bicolor. I believe this one is from Orchid Eros in Hawaii. I think Ben from there grows a lot of bicolors, I think. And I'm just really excited. And there are two more that aren't doing so well. The first of them is, if you see this black spot, that's sunburn. So that you know, don't sunburn your orchids. They can be burnt, especially even the highlight lovers like Cattleyas. That's a labiata. I don't know what's happening to this one. So initially it started like this, and I put it in the sun. I put it directly in the direct sun, and it just burnt. And then I was like, okay, just like sunburn, it's not gonna kill the plant, but I don't think this labiata is stopping the damage. Like this one it started in the leaf just like that, and then I cut it off, even cut it into the pseudobulb because the pseudobulb started to turn black. But now the entire pseudobulb is black. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't ever see sunburn causing this much rotting. And also, you know, it's not like squishy or liquidy. It's just black and, well, a little bit squishy, but it's not like oozing out liquid. So I don't know. Hopefully this one won't die. And lastly, more sunburnt casualties. This is the Cattleya schroederi, and it was a seedling, and then it got sunburned. And then I also read that they actually don't really, even among the Cattleyas, they don't need that much sun. But that was way too late. So it lost everything but this one pseudobulb, plus those little tiny 2 roots. The roots are still functioning, so I'm hoping it will recover, but if it does recover, it's going to take forever. You know, I'm trying to see if the bud or the eye is gonna, you know, break and develop a new pseudobulb. So far, I don't see too much movement, but it's not dead yet, so we'll see. We'll see. All right, that's everything. I feel like I accomplished a lot. I'm so sorry, I just basically rambled and showed you a bunch of stuff that's either way too quick or you don't care about. But hopefully this at least gives a timestamp of how things are, March of 2024, and we'll see once they bloom and how long everything's gonna take and whatnot. Thank you always for watching my videos, and please let me know if you know what is happening to that labiata, and have a great one. I will tell you more about that intermedia and that ludimaniana when the flower is open, and probably that tigrina when that one opens too. And you already know the nodosa, so I don't have to tell you more about it. Alright, cool. Thank you guys. Have a great one.